This place will be closed in 6 months. Mark my words. She should have married that accountant instead of playing chef. That's what my Uncle Raymond announced to my entire family, loudly, deliberately, while sitting at the best table in my restaurant, eating a free meal I'd prepared with my own hands. Everyone laughed. My mother, my aunts, my cousins, all of them cackling like I wasn't standing 15 feet away, watching my dream become the punchline of their joke. What none of them knew was that 3 tables away, a woman had been silently documenting every dish, every service detail, every word. And she was about to change my life forever. My name is Camille Fontaine. I'm 34 years old, and I'm the owner and head chef of Maison Terra, a farm-to-table restaurant in Charleston, South Carolina. 3 years ago, I emptied my savings, maxed out my credit cards, and bet everything I had on a dream my family said would never work. They were almost right. But almost doesn't count in this business. Let me start at the beginning. I was born into a family of practical people. My father was a tax attorney. My mother was a hospital administrator. My 2 older brothers became an investment banker and a software engineer, respectively. The Fontaine family valued stability, security, and 6-figure salaries with benefits. Cooking? That was a hobby. A nice skill for a wife to have. Not a career. I discovered my passion early. By 10, I was making Sunday dinners for the family. By 15, I was staging at local restaurants during summer breaks. By 18, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with my life. My parents were horrified. The restaurant industry is brutal, my father said. 90% of restaurants fail within 5 years. You're too smart for this, Camille. Why would you throw away your potential? My mother added. You could be anything. A doctor, a lawyer, a businesswoman. Why choose something so uncertain? But I was stubborn. I applied to the Culinary Institute of America against their wishes, got in with a scholarship, and left for New York without their blessing. They didn't speak to me for 2 years. Culinary school was everything I dreamed it would be. I learned technique, theory, the science of flavor. I worked harder than I'd ever worked in my life, and I graduated top of my class. During those 2 years of silence from my parents, I discovered who I really was. Not the obedient daughter trying to meet their expectations. Not the black sheep of a family of overachievers. Just Camille, a woman with a gift, a passion, and the determination to see it through. My grandmother, my father's mother, was the only one who supported me. She'd send cards with small checks tucked inside, notes that said things like, "Keep cooking, sweet girl," and "I always knew you were special." She passed away during my 2nd year. I didn't find out until a week after the funeral because my family forgot to tell me. That betrayal hardened something inside me. I stopped hoping for their approval. I started building a life that didn't need it. Then came the real education, restaurant kitchens. I spent a decade climbing the ladder. Line cook, sous chef, executive sous chef. I worked in Michelin-starred restaurants in New York, Chicago, and San Francisco. I learned from masters, absorbed their techniques, developed my own style. But I was always someone else's soldier. Someone else's vision. Someone else's name on the door. At 31, I decided it was time to build something of my own. The family found out about my restaurant plans at Thanksgiving dinner. I'd been saving for years, planning every detail, scouting locations. I'd finally found the perfect space, a historic building in downtown Charleston with exposed brick walls, original hardwood floors, and a courtyard garden where I could grow my own herbs. I thought they'd be proud. I thought 12 years of success in the industry would have changed their minds. I was wrong. Charleston. Uncle Raymond laughed. What, the restaurants in real cities wouldn't have you? A farm-to-table concept. Aunt Vivian sniffed. That's very trendy. Trends die, Camille. How much is this going to cost? My father asked, his attorney brain already calculating the risks. About $300,000 to start. I've saved $150, and I'm applying for a small business loan for the rest. The table went silent. $300,000, my mother repeated. For a restaurant. In this economy. Mom, I've been planning this for years. I know the risks. I also know my capabilities. Your capabilities, my brother Marcus said with a smirk. You're a cook, Camille. Running a business is completely different. I've managed kitchens for a decade. I understand operations, budgeting, staffing. Managing a kitchen for someone else is not the same as owning a restaurant, my father interrupted. You're not equipped for this. You should reconsider. Maybe you should call David, my mother suggested. He's still single, you know. He made partner at his accounting firm last year. If you apologized for breaking off the engagement. I'm not calling David. I'm not apologizing. And I'm opening my restaurant. The rest of Thanksgiving was eaten in icy silence. I opened Maison Terre on March 15th, 3 years ago. The name means House of Earth in French, a tribute to my philosophy that great food starts with great ingredients, grown in good soil, harvested with care. Every dish on my menu could be traced back to a specific farm, a specific farmer, a specific piece of land. The first year was brutal. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Equipment failures came first. My walk-in refrigerator died during the second week, spoiling $3,000 worth of product. The hood ventilation system needed a complete replacement. The ancient plumbing backed up twice, once during a fully booked Saturday night. Supplier issues followed. One of my farmers had a crop failure and couldn't deliver the heirloom tomatoes I'd built my summer menu around. Another decided to sell exclusively to a larger restaurant group, leaving me scrambling for alternatives 2 days before a food critic's scheduled visit. Staff drama was constant. My first sous chef quit after 3 months, taking 2 line cooks with him to open his own place. A server was caught stealing wine. A dishwasher simply stopped showing up. No explanation, no notice. Then came the global pandemic that shut us down for 4 months. I spent every day of quarantine wondering if I'd ever open my doors again. I did curbside pickups, meal kits, anything to keep revenue trickling in. Some nights I'd sit in my empty restaurant, staring at the chairs stacked on tables, wondering if my family had been right all along. I burned through my savings, took out a second loan, worked 18-hour days 7 days a week. There were nights I slept on a cot in my office because I was too exhausted to drive home. There were mornings I woke up crying and had to force myself to keep going. My family watched from the sidelines, waiting for me to fail. "How's the little restaurant?" Uncle Raymond would ask at family gatherings, his tone dripping with condescension. "Still open?" "That's surprising," Aunt Vivian would add. "You know, it's not too late to go back to working for someone else," my mother would say. No one would blame you. I stopped going to family events. I didn't have time for their negativity. Every hour I spent defending my choices was an hour I wasn't spending in my kitchen, perfecting my craft. And slowly, despite everything, things started to turn around. Year 2 brought stability. Then success. Food critics discovered us. Local publications started writing features. We were named Best New Restaurant by Charleston Magazine and made the list of Top 50 Farm-to-Table Restaurants in America by Food and Wine. Reservations filled up weeks in advance. We had to add a second seating on weekends. I hired more staff, promoted my sous chef, started developing new seasonal menus. My family remained unimpressed. "So, you got some good reviews," my brother Tyler said. "That doesn't mean you're making money." "Reviews don't pay bills," my father agreed. "What are your margins?" "Your profit-to-loss ratio." "I'm in the black," I told them. "Have been for 8 months. Barely, I'm sure. 1 bad quarter, and you're done." I stopped sharing good news with them. What was the point? Then came the invitation. It was my mother's 60th birthday, and despite our strained relationship, I wasn't going to miss it. I offered to host the dinner at Maison Terre, a private event, full tasting menu, everything on the house. "That's very generous," my mother said, sounding surprised. "Are you sure you can afford it?" "I'm sure, Mom." "Well, I suppose that would be nice. I'll let everyone know." Everyone turned out to be 18 people. My parents, my brothers and their wives, Uncle Raymond and Aunt Vivian, various cousins I barely knew, and a handful of my mother's friends who I suspected were invited just to witness my little restaurant. I spent a week planning the menu. 12 courses, each one showcasing the best of what Maison Terre could offer. I wanted to show my family, really show them what I'd built. Looking back, I was still seeking their approval, still hoping that if I just tried hard enough, they'd finally see me. That night would cure me of that hope forever. The party arrived at 7 on a Saturday evening. I'd closed the restaurant to other diners, wanting to give my family the full experience. The tables were set with fresh flowers from my garden. The wine pairings were chosen specifically for each course. My staff was prepped and ready. My family walked in, and I watched their eyes scan the space. The elegant lighting, the original artwork, the open kitchen where my team was already plating the amuse-bouche. It's nice, my mother admitted. Very trendy. Reminds me of that place we went in New York, Aunt Vivian said. What was it called? The one that closed after 2 years. I smiled and led them to their seats. The dinner started well enough. My family ate, drank, and for a few blissful minutes seemed to actually enjoy themselves. Then came the commentary. This portion is very small, Uncle Raymond said loudly during the third course, a perfectly composed salad of heirloom tomatoes and burrata. Is this supposed to fill us up? It's a tasting menu, Uncle Raymond. There are 12 courses. 12 tiny courses. I'll need to stop at McDonald's on the way home. Laughter around the table. The wine is nice, Aunt Vivian conceded, though I'm sure it's quite expensive. Is this how you stay in the black? Overcharging for alcohol. I'm not charging you anything tonight, Aunt Vivian. Well, obviously. Family discount. She said it like I owed them free meals. Like my hospitality was expected, not appreciated. Course after course, the criticisms continued. The fish was too fancy. The meat was underseasoned. It wasn't. The dessert was trying too hard. I kept my composure. Smiled. Nodded. Died a little inside with each comment. Then came the moment that broke me. It happened during the 10th course, a deconstructed apple tart that had taken me 3 weeks to perfect. The caramelized apples came from a local orchard I'd personally visited. The pastry cream was made with vanilla beans I'd sourced from Madagascar. The crispy phyllo shards were shaped like autumn leaves. I was proud of that dish. It represented everything I believed about food: local ingredients, careful technique, beautiful presentation. Uncle Raymond took one bite, pushed the plate away, and announced to the table, "This place will be closed in 6 months. Mark my words." The table went quiet, but not in shock. In agreement. She should have married that accountant, he continued. What was his name? David? He made partner, you know. He's got a house in the suburbs, a 401k, a real future. Instead, Camille's here playing chef, serving us tiny portions of fancy nonsense. Raymond, my mother said, but she was smiling. She didn't disagree. None of them did. I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. Uncle Raymond leaned back in his chair. This whole thing is a vanity project. It's cute, but it's not sustainable. Another year, maybe 2, and she'll be crawling back home asking Daddy for a loan. The whole family laughed. My brothers, my parents, my aunts and cousins, all of them, laughing at my life's work while eating my food, drinking my wine, sitting in the restaurant I'd built with my blood and tears. I stood frozen near the kitchen door, unable to move, unable to speak. 18 people I was supposed to love, who were supposed to love me, treating my dream like a joke. Then a woman stood up from a corner table. I'd almost forgotten about her. She'd come in alone about an hour before my family arrived, a quiet woman in her 50s, professionally dressed, with sharp eyes that seemed to notice everything. She'd requested the tasting menu, and I'd accommodated her even though we were supposed to be closed for the private event. Something about her felt important. I couldn't explain it. Now she was walking toward me, and my family was watching with curiosity. "Excuse me," she said, her voice calm and authoritative. "Are you the owner?" "The chef." "Yes, I'm Camille Fontaine. My name is Elizabeth Harrington. I'm a senior inspector with the Michelin Guide." The room went absolutely silent. "I've been reviewing your restaurant for 3 months," she continued. "Multiple visits, different times, different menus. I apologize for the deception, but that's how we operate, anonymously, to ensure an authentic experience." I couldn't breathe. Michelin. The Michelin Guide. The most prestigious restaurant rating in the world. I need to speak with you about your third star. Somewhere behind me, I heard forks clattering onto plates. Elizabeth, Miss Harrington, led me to a quiet corner of the restaurant. My family sat frozen at their tables, all earlier mockery completely forgotten. Miss Fontaine, I have to tell you, in 22 years of doing this job, I have rarely been as impressed as I am by what you've created here. I thank you. I don't know what to say. Your technique is flawless. Your sourcing is impeccable. You've created a genuine farm-to-table experience that honors Southern cuisine while elevating it to world-class standards. But what sets you apart is your heart. My heart. Every dish tells a story. Every plate shows love, not just for the craft, but for the people you're feeding. That's rare, Miss Fontaine. That's what separates a good chef from a great one. I felt tears welling in my eyes. Maison Terra has already been awarded 2 Michelin stars as part of our upcoming guide publication. Tonight's visit was my final evaluation to determine whether you merit a third. 3 Michelin stars. Only 14 restaurants in America had 3 stars. It was the culinary equivalent of winning an Olympic gold medal. And your decision? Elizabeth Harrington smiled. Miss Fontaine, I'm pleased to inform you that Maison Terra will be one of the newest 3-star restaurants in the United States. Congratulations. I burst into tears. When I walked back to my family's tables, everything had changed. They were all staring at me with expressions I'd never seen before. My mother's mouth was actually hanging open. Uncle Raymond looked like he'd swallowed a lemon. My brothers were frantically Googling Michelin 3 stars on their phones. Camille, my father said slowly. What just happened? I wiped my eyes and stood tall. What just happened is that my little restaurant, the guaranteed failure, the vanity project, the joke, just became one of the top 15 restaurants in America. Silence. 3 Michelin stars means I've achieved something only a handful of chefs in this country have ever achieved. It means my tiny portions of fancy nonsense are recognized as world-class cuisine. It means the career you told me to abandon, the dream you mocked at every family gathering, the life I built despite zero support from any of you. It worked. I looked at Uncle Raymond. 6 months, you said. Closed in 6 months. It's been 3 years, Uncle Raymond, and I just received the highest honor in my industry. He said nothing. Couldn't even meet my eyes. You know what the saddest part is? I continued. I invited you all here because I wanted to share this with you. I wanted you to taste what I've created, to see what I've accomplished, to maybe, finally, be proud of me. Instead, you sat in my restaurant, ate my food, drank my wine, and laughed at me. Loudly enough that a Michelin inspector heard every word. My mother started to speak. Camille, we didn't mean... Yes, you did. You meant every word. You've always meant it. And tonight, I finally heard it clearly. I untied my apron. Dinner is over. My staff will bring your coats. Please don't come back. Camille. My father stood up. You can't throw us out. I can. It's my restaurant. My name on the door, my money invested, my vision executed. You don't get to mock me and then share my success. I turned to walk back to my kitchen. The accountant, I added, turning back one last time. David? The one I should have married? He cheated on me 3 months before our wedding. That's why I broke off the engagement. But I'm glad you all think so highly of him. The look on my mother's face was almost worth 3 years of pain. Almost. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. The Michelin Guide announcement went public, and Maison Terra exploded. Reservations booked out 3 months in advance. Food writers from New York, Los Angeles, and London flew in to review us. I was interviewed by the New York Times, featured on the cover of Food and Wine, invited to cook at the James Beard House. My phone rang constantly, but I noticed certain numbers weren't calling. My family had gone silent. No congratulations. No apologies. Just silence. I was okay with that. I'd spent too many years seeking their approval. It was time to stop. A month after the Michelin announcement, My mother finally called. Camille, I think we need to talk. Do we? What happened at the dinner? It wasn't right. I know that now. You know it now. Because I'm successful. Because the world validated what you refused to see. Not because you actually believe in me. That's not fair. Isn't it? Where were you when I was working 18-hour days to keep the doors open? Where were you when I was too exhausted to eat, too stressed to sleep, too broke to take a single day off? You were telling me to apologize to David. You were asking about my margins. You were waiting for me to fail, so you could say, I told you so. Camille, we're your family. We were trying to protect you. You were trying to control me. There's a difference. Silence on the line. I love you, Mom. I'll always love you. But I don't trust you. And I don't know if I ever can again. What can I do to fix this? I don't know. Maybe nothing. Maybe time. But right now, I need space. I need to enjoy this success without wondering if my family is secretly hoping I fail again. We don't want you to fail. You laughed at me, Mom. All of you. While I was standing right there. Do you know what that felt like? To stand in my own kitchen, the kitchen I built with my own hands, and hear my family mocking everything I've worked for. We didn't realize. That's the problem. You never realize. You never see me. You see the daughter, who didn't become a doctor. The sister, who didn't choose the safe path. The niece who embarrasses the family by working with her hands instead of sitting behind a desk. That's all I've ever been to you. That's not true, isn't it? When was the last time anyone asked how I was doing? Not how the restaurant was doing, how I was doing. When was the last time anyone called just to talk, not to criticize or give advice I didn't ask for? My mother was silent, because she knew the answer was never. No response. What could she say? I have to go. We're fully booked tonight. 3 seatings. Camille. Goodbye, Mom. A year has passed since that night. Maison Terra is thriving. We've maintained our 3 stars, won more awards than I can count, and expanded to include a private dining room for special events. I've hired 3 new cooks, promoted my sous chef to co-executive chef, and started developing a cookbook. The restaurant world has embraced me in ways my family never did. Other chefs call me for advice. Culinary students ask to stage in my kitchen. Food publications refer to me as a trailblazer and visionary. I've also started a mentorship program for women entering the culinary industry. Every quarter, I host a dinner where young female chefs can network, learn, and support each other. It's the community I wished I'd had when I was starting out. Now I'm building it for others. My family and I have made slow, tentative progress. Uncle Raymond sent a letter, an actual handwritten letter, apologizing for his comments. It wasn't eloquent, but it was genuine. I called him to say thank you. We talked for an hour. It was strange, but healing. My mother comes for dinner once a month now. She makes reservations like everyone else, pays full price, and always orders the tasting menu. She doesn't criticize. She doesn't compare. She just eats, and sometimes, when she thinks I'm not looking, I see her wipe tears from her eyes. My father sent a business proposal last month. He wants to help me set up a foundation to train young chefs from underserved communities. I said yes. It's the first time he's ever engaged with my work as something worth investing in, rather than something to fix. My brothers are still awkward around me, but they're trying. Marcus came to dinner with his wife last month. At the end of the meal, he pulled me aside. I never apologized, he said. For that night. For a lot of nights. No, you didn't. I was jealous. I know that sounds crazy. I'm the one with the Wall Street job and the corner office. But you had something I never did. You had passion. You had a dream you believed in. I just followed the path Dad laid out because I couldn't think of anything better. That's not an excuse for how you treated me. I know. I'm not making excuses. I'm just trying to explain, to understand, to be better. He looked at me with eyes that, for the first time in years, seemed genuine. I'm proud of you, Camille. I should have said that a long time ago. It wasn't enough to erase 20 years of condescension, but it was a start. Tyler, my other brother, sent his daughter to spend a summer working in my kitchen. She's 18, just graduated high school, and she loves to cook. Her parents wanted her to major in pre-med. Instead, she's applying to culinary schools this fall with my recommendation letter. Tyler wasn't happy about it at first, but he's learning. We're all learning. We're all trying. Last week, Elizabeth Harrington returned to Maison Terra. Not as an inspector, just as a diner. She brought her wife and her daughter, who is celebrating her 30th birthday. After the meal, she pulled me aside. I want you to know something, Camille. That night, when I made the announcement about your third star, I could have done it privately. Called you the next day, followed protocol. But I'd been listening to your family all evening. I heard what they said about you. Why did you do it publicly then? Because talent like yours deserves recognition. And because sometimes the people who doubt us need to witness the moment they're proven wrong. She smiled. Consider it a gift from one stubborn woman to another. I hugged her. Protocol be damned. Thank you, I whispered. You don't know what that meant to me. I think I do, she said. I had my own Uncle Raymond, my father. He told me women couldn't be serious food critics, that we didn't have the palate for it. She smiled. I've been proving him wrong for 30 years. There's a photo in my office now. It's from the night of the Michelin announcement, a snapshot one of my line cooks took on his phone. In it, I'm standing in my kitchen, tears streaming down my face, holding the letter from Elizabeth Harrington. Behind me, through the pass-through window, you can see my family at their table. Their faces are frozen in shock, forks suspended in midair, mouths open. I keep that photo, not to gloat. I keep it to remember. To remember that I did this. That I built this. That when everyone said it couldn't be done, I did it anyway. And to remember that the moment you stop believing in yourself is the moment you've truly failed. Everything else is just a setback. I'm 37 now. My restaurant has a 2-year waitlist. I've been invited to cook for presidents, celebrities, and culinary legends. I've achieved more than I ever dared to dream. But none of that matters as much as this. I believed in myself when no one else did. I kept going when everyone told me to quit. I built something beautiful, not to prove them wrong, but to prove myself right. Sometimes late at night after service, I sit in my empty restaurant and remember that Thanksgiving dinner. The one where I told my family about my dream and they told me I'd fail. I remember the shame, the hurt, the desperate need for their approval. And I remember making a choice. To pursue my passion anyway. To bet on myself. To keep cooking, keep creating, keep believing, even when the people who should have supported me the most were laughing at the idea that I could ever succeed. They're not laughing anymore. To anyone out there with a dream, a crazy, impractical, guaranteed failure of a dream, don't listen to the doubters. Not even if they're family. Especially if they're family. Because sometimes the people who love you can't see past their own fears. They project their limitations onto you. They mistake their comfort zone for wisdom. But you know what you're capable of. You know what sets your soul on fire.
So, do it anyway.
Build it anyway. Chase it anyway. And when they're sitting at your table, eating their words along with your food, you can smile and say, "Would you like to see the dessert menu?" It's fancy nonsense. But I think you'll love it. My name is Camille Fontaine. I'm a chef, a business owner, a 3 Michelin star restaurateur, and the woman my family said would fail. They were wrong. And this is my restaurant.